Okay, on another issue, but still involving Michaelia Cash, she's also suggested that perhaps the government should reconsider its membership of the International Criminal Court. Why?
Well, it's the Benjamin Netanyahu arrest warrants and the belief that the court has done the incorrect thing here. That's Michaelia Cash's point, and it leads to an interesting debate towards the end of the year. It's certainly the opposition's belief, Laura, that this is about Western Sydney, the Labor's stance and votes out there, and in various parts of Melbourne too, Labor's stance on the Israel-Palestine war. I think Anthony Albanese and Penny Wong would differ on that. They'd say, look, we're worried about so many children being killed. There had to be a way to prosecute this war and for Israel to defend itself without going as far as it had. But the ICC arrest warrants has put the government in a sticky position, very sticky position, as it has the British government, a lot of European governments. And we know the US is opposing the ICC and won't sign up to it. So it seems pretty clear from these comments to me that the coalition, if elected, would pull out.
Certainly, given the actions of the ICC, we certainly do have grounds now to reconsider our membership. Anthony Albanese, Penny Wong, pick up the phone to Prime Minister Netanyahu and tell him that he is welcome in Australia any time and that we stand with Israel, not with the Hamas terrorists.
Okay, the Trade Minister also gave his thoughts on the US President-elect Donald Trump's blanket tariff promise. What did he say?
Well, he gave some thoughts that this would hurt Australia, and they're hoping that they can prevent the 10 to 20% proposed tariff on all countries hitting Australia. But also, interestingly, he makes the point, I mean, so much of our iron ore and other trade, 40% of our exports are to China. He's saying if the Chinese economy is wounded by the 60% tariff Trump's talking about, then the Australian economy is in trouble. And it's interesting because Anthony Albanese told me in Peru that he wouldn't get involved in that dispute, but his own minister saying, well, it does have effect on us. Don Farrell also saying he's reached out to Donald Trump's proposed appointment as Commerce Secretary, but hasn't had a response as yet.
Our primary argument, I think, to the Americans is, look, we don't think tariffs are a good idea. Just look at the relationship between Australia and the United States. It's overwhelmingly in the United States' favour. We buy about twice as much product from the United States as we sell.
Andrew, before I let you go, it's a final sitting week there in Canberra. It always gets a little crazy at this time of year, and add to that, it could be the last one before the election, although, you know, there's different theories around that. So what's your theory at this point?
Gee, you put me on the spot there, Laura.
Sorry.
Look, I'm sticking with May because I think the Albanese made a Freudian slip in our interview, but there's certainly a belief. No, it's not just the opposition's really pushing this the elections in March line, right? They firmly believe there won't be a budget. But there's also an expectation I've heard from people in government that it may well be in March. They're certainly being prepared. I believe that ministerial staff are being prepared for that possibility, that there won't be a budget and that this is the last sitting week. It's an interesting situation we have in this last week. I think you're absolutely right to say it's always a crazy week and you've got to be on guard as a journalist for what might be occurring. Joe Tarnowski is an example, that press conference there. Remember Rochelle Miller, her press conference on Alan Tudge was the last week. Then you have these last-minute deals on legislation that you're not expecting. We've got 76 bills, according to a Fin Review analysis. I don't doubt it. In the Parliament, the one that's been put to me is might be subject of a last-minute deal, even though the Prime Minister's offering nothing is Help to Buy. It suits the government's narrative, in a sense, to have, if you vote for a hung Parliament, if you don't re-elect us in majority, we'll have this chaos. We'll have the opposition blocking student caps, attempting to block HECS debt relief, the student debt relief. We'll have the Greens blocking these housing proposal and other measures. And the other interesting thing in the middle of this is this social media thing. They dumped the misinformation thing. You got this social media ban. Look, both parties, both leaders are really for it. Is everyone in their parties? There'll be a fiery coalition party room on this tomorrow. Will they get that through in time? What's the necessity, given the actual proposal doesn't occur for a year? What's the rush? Why couldn't they do it early in the new year if indeed they're coming back? So it's a really interesting week, frankly. It's a week where you should tune into Sky News for all the twists and turns in the federal parliament.
Absolutely, we will do. Andrew, thanks so much. Appreciate it.